Hey, everybody's here. Wow, that was quick. Too much to do. Sorry, I'm late. I had to go for my eye again today. And, just have to get used to not being the best news. But my eyesight's getting better. It's just, I'm going to have to wear, it looks like contact lenses, which wasn't the goal of cataract surgery, but that's all right. I used to wear them, so it's not the end of the world. Gold 2,842. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I wanted T-bow tie ice, bow tie ice, T-bow tie ice. I wanted to finish the article I was reading yesterday, but Ham might want to come on. Wow, I'm really thirsty. Let's see where some of these stocks are trading. This RLAIF is 35 cents. It's kind of silly. But if you think of it in terms of dollars, just a number, in other words, not pennies, it makes it sound better. It's 35. Well, no, last trade 33 cents. All right, so NASDAQ doesn't give the bid and ask. So let me go to OT. Let's go to real quotes. No. Sorry, I'm trying to find somewhere where I can get a quote for real-time quotes. Well, NASDAQ isn't good. How about free real-time quotes? That'll work. All right, let's look up. Go. All right, so what's the bid? Yeah, the bid on Railtown is 34 cents. The ask is 35.69. Last trade 33.28. So both the bid and the ask are higher than the last trade. Well, this says it's delayed. So I guess I can't give you the exact price. Judging by the bid, Railtown is 34 cents. Finger is $1.29. The bid is $1.28. The ask is $1.29. I'm just going to do two more. Next strip is down. maybe a buying opportunity. And then let's just see what NIX is doing. I think that was down 3 cents, 247. Finger 130, 50 cents Canadian. Wow. I don't have any skinny on what's going on with Railtown, but the way the stock's trading, something is up. I did want to finish that article by Egon. Where is it? Here it is. So yesterday, the part I got to in his article was, which got me, I wanted to hear the rest of what he was saying. If Bitcoin has no intrinsic value with a stable coin weekly backed by the US Treasuries, I wouldn't attribute any real value to these coins. Primarily since US Treasuries are issued by an insolvent government. The plot thickens with the Trump government now in favor of Bitcoin and cryptos. Was Bitcoin always intended to replace a worthless dollar? Remember that the dollar has been down 99% since Nixon let it drift off of the gold standard in 1971. And also remember that no currency has ever survived in the long run. With the US/Trump now also declaring that CBD are central bank digital currencies are banned, a Bitcoin sponsored or backed by the United States government could be the Trump way forward to solve the US debt catastrophe. This will be the blind leading the blind, or one Ponzi scheme backing the other. This is written by Egon von Greyerz. It seems more like 17th century tulip mania to me. Gold from 1970 through 2025 has gone to, as the gentleman just pointed out, to 2,800. That's a proper bull market. Gold is up 86x. 86x. In, what's that, 80, 90, 20, well, 50 years. In 50 years, gold is up 86x. Yes, major speculative gains could still be made in Bitcoin, just like in the tulip bulbs 400 years ago, but I will pass. This is Egon von Greyerz. For me, the 86-fold increase in the gold price, or just the inverse of the fall in the dollar, since 1971 is enough. I am quite happy with the 9-fold increase in gold since 2002, when we and the investors we advised went heavily into physical gold, stored outside the banking system. I was UK pound based at the time, yielding an 11-fold gain when you compare it to the pound. I know that the Bitcoin aficionados will say that I understand nothing about cryptos. They are right, of course. I don't. But I know enough not to touch it with a barge pole. See, old fogies have their place in life. I prefer assets with intrinsic value, like physical gold, which is nature's money. Gold has stood the test of time and has been money for 5,000 years. Gold is certainly superior for wealth preservation purposes to volatile computer money like Bitcoin with a 16-year history. Trump ran a good election campaign focusing on easy issues everyone could understand, like make America great again and stop the immigrants. Many of his executive orders are also sensible, like free speech, no wokeism, and drill baby drill. He's also throwing out the fake climate agenda. See, that's where I'm not as sanguine about that, but anyway, I have always been of the firm opinion that climate change is cyclical and not man-made. I don't know how anybody can say that. It has to be man-made. We're putting carbon into the atmosphere at a rate not seen since the dinosaurs or before the dinosaurs. But anyway, it's not worth arguing about. I've always been of the opinion that climate change is cyclical and not man-made. Thus, we cannot play God. And I believe that we can't limit temperature growth to 1.5 degrees by 2050. I think that's true. We can't. It might be already too late. Fossil fuels produce 85% of global energy, and that is not likely to decline substantially over the next 50 years. I think he's right about that. But usage could decline if our population collapses. So, not to invest in oil like Biden did, or to stop producing coal like Germany did, is a quick way to destroy these economies. My opinion, leave the coal in the ground. Leave the coal in the ground. Trump's optimism is what a country needs. It wins elections and it makes the electorate feel good, at least half of the electorate. We can just turn to the UK's Starmer or Germany's Scholz to see what terrible results a depressing leader can have. Scholz is on his way out, and Starmer, having only been in power for 7 months, would lose if there were an election today. Trump loves buying property, so playing Monopoly, he now tries to buy the Panama Canal, Canada, and Greenland. But I guess he will pass go without having bought any of them. Trump clearly has megalomania. This helps to win an election, but not to end wars, and sadly, not to make a bankrupt nation financially sound. And Trump has already failed with the election promise to end the Ukrainian war on day one, promising to stop sending weapons and money to Ukraine. But he has done none of that. Instead, the neocons now seem to be in charge again, and all Trump has done is to threaten Russia with sanctions. He said, quote, "We can do it the easy way or the hard way. And the easy way is always better. It's time to make a deal. No more lives should be lost." Russia was never going to lose this war. This was clear to me on day one, despite the false Western propaganda about Ukraine winning. I know I got blowback here on this channel. And it was clear to him, despite Western money, weapons, and personnel. Disastrously, around 800,000 Ukrainians have died, and substantially fewer Russians. despite what CNN says. The puppet Zelensky will not agree to freeze the current situation, whilst that is the absolute minimum for Putin. Thus, Trump's first promise is likely not to be fulfilled for a very long time, if ever. The US and NATO can never beat Russia and their allies in China, Korea, and Iran. And everyone knows that using nuclear weapons means the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. The US has spent $175 billion in total on the Ukraine war, most of it missing, most of it in the Biden's family trust. An important part of that has been siphoned off to corrupt middlemen. What a terrible waste of lives and money. I sadly see no solution in the short term. End of the US empire. I have written many times about the end of the United States empire. We must not forget that the once powerful US empire has since World War II lost every major war that it started. This includes Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Ukraine, and many more. So despite advanced weaponry and unlimited printed money, the United States has not won a war since 1945, according to Egon von Greyerz. So, to argue that the United States is the strongest military power in the world does not stand up to scrutiny when this mighty power can't even win a battle in Libya. Trump knows this, of course, and Putin will not fall for it. Inflation-adjusted workers' wages are lower today than the mid-1940s. An unadjusted minimum wage of $7.25 has not increased since 2010. Who can live on an hourly wage of $7? Everyone can see it. Middle America is getting poorer by the day. What most people can also see is that the rich are getting much, much richer. So the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. What does this remind us of? Revolution, of course. Just like the French Revolution in 1789 or the Russian Revolution of 1917. The inequality in the West between the rich and poor is currently greater than inequality any time in history of humankind. It is extremely likely this will result in a major uprising by ordinary people in the West. We should not believe that the police or military will protect the people, as they are also people who are suffering. Asset markets like stocks, property, and bonds are in a generational bubble phase, and gold will continue to reflect the destruction of paper money. Cycles are sometimes useful to get around town, but they're also useful as a forecasting tool. Looking at our proprietary cycles, I have a very interesting cycle bottom in the Dow Gold ratio in 2035. If that is correct, it would mean much weaker stocks and much stronger gold for the next 10 years. In any crisis in history, physical gold has always been the best form of wealth preservation. There will be no difference this time. Gold will reach multiples of the current price, and most financial assets will collapse. So hold as much physical gold as you can afford to, plus a bit of silver, and store it outside of the banking system. And please don't forget to help family and friends, or to enjoy all the wonderful free things in life, like conversation, nature, music, books, and puppy dogs if you have one. It's not too late to jump on the gold wagon. It has just started. GTII's down 44%, fingers up 5%, and other things happening. Okay, let me see if I can get Ham on. Any logic news? No, there's no logic news except it was up today. And except that I'm expecting news. But it's already Wednesday, and or is it? It's Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday. So we could get news this week on logic. Jack, I'm concerned that, as I've said, I'm concerned that it's only one company, not all 7 that they talked about before. But it's possible there's a way that they plan on getting all 7 in there. In other words, put it in bottom line, if we get 15% of 100 million rather than 15%, let's round up, of $1 billion, that's a big difference in share price. In addition, I expect more shares are going to have to be issued. So my guess is we're not going to own 15% of a new co. We'll own maybe, let's call it half, 7.5%. 7.5% of 100 million is a lot different than 15% of $1 billion. But it might still get there. We'll just have to find out what they say.
Battery 40%. Connected to Bill's iPhone.
Yeah, anything can happen. That's true. And my concern is whether the company coming in is bought and paid for by the shorts. It's a huge amount of money out there. I think Aubrey Aubrey Financial helped organize a $200 million sting. And you can argue with my numbers. Maybe it's 100 million, maybe it's 400 million. And that kind of money would buy a CEO or buy a company. On the other hand, it's possible it's just an honest reverse merger, and I'm wrong, you know. We just have to find out. I guess what I'm doing is speculating, which is no better than making assumptions. All right. All right, you guys. Trying to get this speaker working. It's not working. Backroom deals, G-Bucks all over the place. How is GTII trading? I don't know. I doubt it's trading at all. Guys, GTII is a complete wipeout. You can have fun talking about it, but you're never going to see, unless you put up more money, you're never going to see anything there. It says it's 4 cents. I wouldn't trade it. On February, 300 shares traded at 0.022. On February 4th, 650 shares traded at 4 cents. And 4 cents, 14,000 traded at 3 cents. So maybe that's the price range, 3 cents to 4 cents. But I wouldn't trade it. If you were to buy GTII, you don't know what the bid is. You're not going to make money on that trade. If you sell it, you don't know what the ask is. It's not worth it. G-Bucks, let me look at the bid ask. $216 to $230. To me, the wide spread is actually probably bullish sign to me. DJT, another day, down day. These crooks are really going to pay for this. I don't know what Byron is. Hey, Donna. I don't know what BYON is. You're welcome to trade it, obviously. The one to watch maybe is Next Trip. I'm hearing something might be coming with that. Of course, I've been saying that for a while now. That closed at 665. Railtown is it's 411. I don't get it. The last trade is 33 cents, but the bid is 34 cents and the ask is 35 cents. I guess that's just my services delayed. I'm just checking headlines. NASDAQ surges. Nothing interesting. RFK got through today, you know. I paid $2 for GTII back when. Well, did you sell it for tax loss purposes? No. I mean, my idea of what I picked a bad stock, but I tried to get people to take losses in GTII because there were other stocks out there that had squeeze potential, like Finger, but I thought Logic had a good trade in it. Logic hasn't been any better than, well, I guess it's better than GTII because it's still trading, but it really was jumping out of the fire into the frying pan, unfortunately. But the problem with GTII now is if you sell it, you're not going to get a fair price. And if there's and of course you'll get your tax write-off, but it's going to be next to no money. You might get 2 cents a share. I suppose you could go buy Logic. You could buy Railtown. You could buy, I don't know what. So there's not as many alternatives now as there were. But the problem is if some sort of good news happens, which I don't think is going to change the stock price very much, but on a percentage basis it could. They could move the bid ask from, under a penny to 5 cents, 1 to 5. They could move it 5 to 15 or 7 to 13. And then you can't get back into it. There's no way to win with GTII. There's nothing good to do about GTII. Nothing. So. His finger's still at play. I sold all my shares at $3. Well, good for you. So you didn't think it was a play. You sold them all at 3. What'd you do with the money? I mean, I'm sure you've already done something else with the money because you're a genius. But if you haven't, maybe you can put some of that money into Railtown, RLAIF. There's no reason to save a tax loss. If you book it, you can always use it later on. But the key about GTII was that it was trading. It doesn't trade anymore. So there's just really nothing to do anymore. Thank you, Jeffrey Myers. That's awfully nice of you. Northwest, I'm waiting to get back in. Well, I don't know how much longer you want to wait. If you sold it at 3, you can double your position or buy your position back and keep half the money in cash. I don't know what you're waiting for. That'd be my attitude. But, there's a reason you sold it at 3. So maybe you feel like 140, 129 is still too high. I don't know. But man, you can buy it back at less than half what you sold it for. I don't know what you're waiting for. Do you have any thoughts on GTII Iversity merger? I still own GTII, Logic, GoLogic, and Finger. God. It's only one of those 4 that has a chance right now, and that's Finger. Of those, I have GoLogic, I have Logic, I have GTII. Right now, I don't have any Finger because I got blown out of my Finger. But I don't know anything about the GTII Iversity merger. What you might know, and you can tell me, is it's not going to be 50-50. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe they feel generous, but it's not going to be 50-50. My guess is it's at best, it'll be 15% the good guys, 85% the new guys. It'll be 85-15 at best. and then GTII will need to raise money. So how does it raise money? Is it crammed down? I don't know. So I know nothing about the merger, but my guess is you individually, regardless of how many shares you have of GTII, it's, it'll be a $50 investment. You'll have $100 invested. You're going to get crammed down all to hell. Logic, they made all those announcements that they were going to do the reverse mergers into almost $1 billion worth of companies, and we would have 15%. And that worked out to roughly 50 cents a share. But I think Logic will have doubled yet again, maybe more than doubled, the outstanding number of shares, because the only value Logic has is being a clean shell. And what's the definition of a clean shell? A company who files its financials on time. And what is a company that does that? That's a company that hires auditors. And what do you need? You probably need 200 or 300 grand a quarter all in. So I have a feeling Logic has issued more shares. Unfortunately, it looks like Logic is only talking to 2 companies by their press releases. One is puny, and the other one's $100 million. So I'm just concerned that, let me put it in numbers, simple numbers. Logic is the largest number of shares I own, unfortunately. So I'm in it to win it, I guess. Let's say 5 months ago with the news announcements, let's use 50 cents, although I think that's a high target, but let's use 50 cents. I think now Logic, you have to assume they've at least doubled the amount of shares out, probably more, but let's just say double. So that brings it down to 25 cents, the target. Then instead of going for $1 billion, you're going for 100 million. So that takes it from 25 cents down to 2.5 cents as the target. It's Logic, unfortunately. I really don't understand doing hard work and then signing it all away to a financial liar. But that's what they all are. These companies that show up, the people that show up in Twitter, the people that show up with the gravelly whiskey voices and say, this stock's going to go up. And they're all part of the same river of money. It's all part of it. So the CEOs get fooled. And they think it's so frustrating. So anyway, I'm not really excited about Logic. I think Logic, I was excited about it. Too much time has gone by. I think another couple of boneheaded decisions probably have been made. And it's just the finishing pieces of the sting operation that Aubrey Advisors set up from the start. That's how I see it. So can Logic go to 2.5 cents? Sure, that's a nice move. Can it go to 5 cents? Sure. But I'm not feeling good about even 20 cents anymore in Logic. I think it's really sad, and it's bad decisions in somewhere along the line. Go Logic is GoLogic was going to have, let me reconstruct this. Recruiter.com was, the reverse merger was going to be GoLogic and that Radix AI. But then the guy that I think was the CEO of Recruiter, I think was Granger Whitlaw or whatever, Whitelaw. And somehow he stayed enmeshed in the story. So he got 250,000 shares of Nixie, 250,000 shares free to trade. And so the recruiter.com became a Nixie story. And so GoLogic is sitting there as a shell. I will tell you, Alan, I have put forth my request that I can do something with the GoLogic shell, and I can, knock on wood. I can do something with it and make people, you, all of us, money. Unlike, well, a lot of it's up to the money, and I can't control the money. But unlike a lot of people, I would try, I don't know how you do it vis-a-vis new investors, but I really would try to make sure that everybody that's in it benefited rather than me benefiting first and foremost. That guy in GTII set it up so that if the stock went to $2, he would make $20 million. It's ridiculous. For what? Of course, I think that was all smoke and mirrors just to make you think that he was trying to do something good for shareholders. I think he was there to help the shorts. Anyway, I've given you my feeling on GTII. Finger, I think, has a chance to make up your entire investment in all four, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time. So my bottom line thoughts on the GTII AI-versity merger is, it's a waste of time to look into it. If they come to you and give you the ability to invest in an early round, then you can look at it. But I think it's a cram down. And like that guy that bought GTII at $2, I don't know how much he bought. Let's say he bought 10,000 shares, $20,000. I think after this merger, he'll have $200, $20, nothing. That's how I see it. Otherwise, it's charity. And I don't notice anybody on Wall Street that's very charitable. Benjamin Pugh, I sold Finger for RLAIF. No. Well, I mean, do whatever you want to do, Benjamin. I think Finger Motion is going to have a good fourth quarter. Does that mean it's going to be explosively good? We'll find out. But that doesn't matter to me. Finger has lost money each quarter, a penny, 2 pennies, 3 pennies. And let's say they came in the fourth quarter and they made 5 cents. It went to +5, or let's pick a higher number. They made 10 cents a share in the fourth quarter. In and of itself, that doesn't matter to me. I would like to know why they made such a big amount and if it's repeatable. It's the repeatable nature of whatever earnings come that's going to change the story for Finger. And I think that repeatable, growing nature of earnings can become clear even if the fourth quarter is flat. We just have to read what they are projecting out of their contracts. But I think that is, I got to add it up. That's 2 months away. Yeah, it's 2 months. No, it's end of February. Yeah, it's 2 months away before we hear about the fourth quarter. So I don't really think fourth quarter earnings are going to have an impact on Finger Motion's stock price. It could always happen sooner, but to me, I don't think it's happening for a couple of months. What's the other thing that could happen to Finger is the Roth Capital Research Report. Now that could come out at any time. And Ham thinks it's going to come out with a high price target. I think they'll come out market neutral. You know, maybe $1.50, $1.75, $2, $2.25 target. Why do I say that? I guess I don't see why they would stretch their necks to come up with a much higher number. But the Roth Capital Research Report could, in my opinion, if it's detailed and it describes the company well and it explains the contracts, it could get the stock price up on Finger. And I think Finger's going to $1.50, $1.60, maybe to $2, $2.10. And if there's momentum behind it, I don't see a reason why Finger can't go to $4. All of it, though, I think is going to take weeks, if not months. And it's going to take some positive events. Railtown is starting to show strength. Benjamin, if you got into Railtown to see it go to 35 cents, maybe you paid 29 cents, and your whole dream was for your money to go from 29 cents to 35 cents, yeah, I guess you should sell some and get out. But I think Railtown ultimately is a 10x or a 20x even, maybe more. It's hard to project. But Railtown is in the middle of being repriced. It was an R&D company. It was an angel round company. It was a bunch of hot air. We're going to do this, this, and this is our idea, and we've got the team, and we're going to use AI, and it's going to be great. Well, they got through that phase, but they had to raise money. It took 3 or 4 years. They're now at the point where they have a product. It's published. It's called Conductor, and there's 2 or 3 sidekicks to that product. If I can summarize that product, what I understand it does is it allows for a team or a company to go in, find problems with their legacy software, isolate that problem, and fix it, and maybe enhance the software for a fraction of the cost, fraction of the time, fraction of the people, and it's self-learning. It's not open AI. It's a closed, what do you call it? Technology, software. It's a, it's a model. And apparently it's revolutionizing this small niche area worldwide for software development. And according to their projections, the software development market is growing into the 100 billions. And if they're the first mover, if theirs is so good, can they get half of that, 25% of that, more? Who knows? But I think that's the stage you're in. And so, Benjamin, all you need is one announced deal. And I don't know of any deals. I'm not an insider, but people talk that they're going to these conferences. They're marketing. People I know that are in the space have studied what they have and say, wow, this is great. One would presume now that they're done with the development phase and they're actively marketing it, they're going to get a contract or two. I wouldn't sell the stock till they get a contract and you see what that contract does to revalue, reprice to leapfrog the market cap of Railtown from 50 million to what? I don't know what, $1 billion, $5 billion? Because you're talking about a tool which self-educates. If it works, it's going to grow by leaps and bounds, and it's high margin. And I would assume the customers will be big if it's all as good as they say. And that's why I wouldn't sell Railtown. I think if Railtown gets news, I don't know, who would be a customer? That's my problem. I can't think. Obviously, they have the little small mom and pops out there that are part of the Microsoft network. But let's say a Salesforce, a sales.com, or a realty firm, or I don't know if a brokerage firm would do it, maybe an insurance company, maybe an auditing firm, maybe one of the big consultative auditing firms, like, I don't know, there used to be a bunch of them, like a BDO. People in the know use BDO. But all you have to do is get one contract, and all of a sudden, even an idiot can go, wow, this thing works. And their margins are what? And their revenue is projected to be what? And they could get X% of the worldwide market of 120 billion within the next 3 to 4 years. That's fantastic. And all of a sudden, you have a stock that isn't 30 cents. It could be $30. But let's be reasonable. Let's be reasonable. It could be $3. It could be $6. 20x. It could be $6. Is 30x, 50x unreasonable? I don't think so. So I wouldn't sell RLAIF. I wouldn't sell RLAIF to get back into Finger right now. But you do what you want to do. I think Finger doubles from here very likely over the next weeks, couple of months. Could do better than that. But my bottom line, Benjamin, is I think Railtown, regardless of whether or not you believe my sense of it, and if you look at Railtown's presentation, their partners are Microsoft, AMD, NVIDIA, and a few others. Those become the natural buyers of a new technology. But anyway, if you don't believe any of that, My concern would be that Finger could double, Finger could triple over the next weeks. And obviously the whole idea that Ham has and others have, that the short covering could come in and Finger could really outperform anything I'm talking about. That could happen, you know. But what I would worry about is if you sell Railtown, are you serious? You got into it at 25 cents and it's 32 cents bid, you want to sell? Yeah, that's a nice percentage move. I can see that. But I think Railtown's going to be repriced. And then from that higher level, people are going to be talking about how the company can grow and how their revenues can grow. You're talking about taking a company that was R&D. It's one of the thousands of AI companies. Everybody hears AI, their eyes gloss over, but they actually have a real product. And all that's happening is it seems to be taking a long time for them to get their first customer. Well, that's life. Once and by their first customer, I mean their first big, name brand, where you'll go, wow, they got that, instead of me just blathering, because they already have customers. But what would be great is if like a BDO or I don't know, some sort of consulting firm, or maybe what's the big insurance company? Mother. It's not Mass Mutual. It's another one. Anyway, it may be a big insurance company for all their insurance records. I don't know. It's hard to make it up. But someone you recognize, boom, that's not a 30-cent stock. That's maybe $1.50. Maybe it's $3. And then we're talking something. So I don't know, Benjamin. I think Railtown could be the same price as Finger Motion over the next weeks. So I'd be slow to sell Railtown. But I like Finger Motion at these prices. I have to admit, Finger Motion is showing strength. It looks like Roth Capital has done a good investment banking job. And so I think Finger could be $1.50, $1.60 pretty soon. When is the next earnings for Finger? I wonder. Finger Motion's 12 months, their annual reporting period runs from March 1st till February 28th. That's their 12 months. So their year is off by 2 months on our standard reporting period. So Finger Motion's fourth quarter will report will end this February the 28th, Friday the 28th. Typically, earnings are reported 45 days later. So that would be, it's a Friday. So probably they would report their earnings, I'm going to guess, April 14th. So that's when I think. And that'll be fourth quarter earnings, and that'll be their 2025 annual report. Wow, finger, look at that. Finger 130 to 143. Let's look at that. That's great. That's the kind of sign you look for. That might mean the report came out. I don't see that bid and ask. I see 120 bid, 160 ask. That's just the desks, the computers, they move their bid and asks so that they don't get filled. And if they do, it's an attractive price. That's not a meaningful spread. They're just going to sleep for the night. Finger and GTII are both dead plays. Well, it's possible you're right. I don't think Finger's dead. I think Finger is I don't know, Nakid. People today just want action, action, action. I think Finger at $1.30 in a year's time could be well, it's hard to project out a year, but it could easily be a $5 or $6 stock. If it's $6, that's a nice move from $1.30. I don't think Finger is dead at all, Finger has an exciting contract, but just to repeat myself, Finger is 5 or 6 things. That's great, but that's a very difficult story. Believe it or not, if you're more than one thing, that's not always the best way to present to a family office or an institution. If I'm an institutional money manager and I want to be in gold, I want to be in oil and gas, I want to be in horse racing, and I want to be in fine art, and I want to be in an AI firm, a technology, I'm going to want to pick those out myself. I don't want to be in one company like Finger, which is in insurance. It's in minutes. It's in text messaging. It's in rapid response vehicles. It's in the Netflix of Southeast Asia. It's the gatekeeper to online shopping. It gets a toll booth. It has cloud computing, data processing. So all of these are great. But as a money manager, I'm thinking, where am I allocating my money? It's a Chinese company. And is it an insurance company? Is it a defense contractor? Is it a telecommunications company? Is it a data storage company? Is it a big data company? These questions spin. And so until Finger Motion gets one of those areas which becomes its reliable workhorse and perhaps its racehorse, I don't know. My guess, the rapid response vehicles will be the first breakthrough contract that Finger Motion has, plus the ongoing data stream that those governments pay for. But that's not clear yet. But once something like that's clear, and they're turning $5 million into 20 million, the next time they turn 20 million into 50 million, they turn 50 million into 125 million. I'm making those numbers up. Then all of a sudden, Finger has a story. But that's hardly dead. That's hardly dead. Finger Motion trades. They have government contracts. They have business contracts. They have a loyal investor group. They're on the NASDAQ, even though I make fun of Adina Friedman for being a total lard butt. That's a real company. It is China. It is confusing. It is under attack by the shorts. They are going to need to raise money. So it's not a perfect story, but that's where opportunity comes in. And on top of that, I'm just talking about the fundamentals. On top of that, there's a massive, potentially a massive short position, which could be triggered. Now, I'm of the belief that as these criminals have time, they move it offshore. Who knows? But there's plenty going on with Finger, plenty. I just don't think, I guess you're a get it going right now kind of girl. I think you might have to wait with Finger. But I think you could see 100%, 200% gains in a year. That doesn't sound exciting to you because you want it in a day. But I think you could see a double, a triple, or better in Finger Motion over the next 12 months, 18 months. That's terrific. GTII, dead. Zero. You're going to see zero return on your money. Your money's gone. Let's talk about it because it's just such, it's just so important to talk about it. Let's pretend this is the equity in GTII. This piece of paper is the equity in GTII. That equity, you and I have our ownership of that equity. So right now, 100% of this equity belongs to GTII shareholders right now, 100%. Now, Reichman probably knew the Kramers prior to taking the deal. Or not. They're all Jewish. They're all out of New York. And, oh my gosh, that's anti-Semitic. Well, maybe it is. I don't mean it to be. But I think they all know each other. Or they at least all trust each other. I could be wrong. So Reichman did a deal with the Kramers, and then he bought it back. So another interpretation is he knew of the Kramers, met them, went to Temple, good recommendation. All right, I can trust these guys. And then he found out what they're like, so he bought it back. Well, then for 2 years, through the auspices of somebody he worked with, they tried every kind of methodology to catch out the short. They did a Picasso. They did another art piece. They did a Bitcoin-like coin called Shibu Inu. They bought Beyond Blockchain. They brought in an educational company. They brought in a law firm to be bought out. They had the Trento mining deal. They did a special dividend, restricted. It was restricted shares. The stocks squeezing until Frank Benedetto, Lou Bravo, and Gus Fliakos came in and told you to go to COSM, which was one of the biggest fleece jobs ever. So that broke that squeeze. They were caught by Alpine. Alpine was caught out. Apparently Alpine took over the trade from the Kramers, and on and on and on and on and on. Well, then what did Reichman do? Reichman came in because he's a big shot, and he said, I created $1 billion company. My shit doesn't stink. I'm the greatest guy ever. And so then he started giving shares away. He gave 35 million shares to a Jewish charity. He gave millions of shares to his daughters. He took out shares and bought a Rolls Royce, apparently. He gave shares to a hairdresser. And he starts living large. Well, then he brings in this derivatives guy named Gary Rhubarb. And Rhubarb was there, I think, to protect the shorts. Well, you've heard all of this, but you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it. You want to still believe that GTII from the jump was a good company and everyone had good intent. It looks like Reichman joined up with the Kramers to inflate the value of GTII so Reichman could give to Jewish charities, give to his daughter, buy Rolls Royces, live high on the hog. That's what it looks like. So Reichman's GTII, there's that 100, that's the equity. It largely belongs to you, me, and Reichman. Well, then the shorts, they start shorting a universe of stock that doesn't exist. So we own this amount, but they short hundreds of millions of shares. The stock goes down. All right, so now you have this merger. What do you think? There's 100% of GTII, which is us. And this AI-versity is going to come in as a merger. How much are they going to ask for? Well, let's say that AI-versity belongs to one of the whales, and let's assume the whale is one of us and wants to make money on his shares. So let's just say it's 50-50. I think that's preposterous. So now we have 50% of the company, not 100%, because this AI university comes in. Well, that's good. We don't have 100% anymore. We've got 50% of something that's good. There's no way we're going to have 50%. All right, now take that 50%. Let's say GTII, to attract AI-versity, has to put out, I don't know, $5 million. Has to pay out $5 million. So the whales come in and they put in $5 million. So they put $5 million into GTII for half the company. These are ridiculous assumptions, but let's say they do that. So we now have 25% of the original 100% of GTII. Well, you're saying, well, that's better than nothing. That's what you're saying. Okay. So now we have 25%. The whale came in and AI Affinity came in. Now, let's say AI University goes out to raise money. So this whole thing, let's say a Wall Street team comes in to give $25 million to the combined AI and this. We get crammed down further. So I'm having a hard time explaining myself. So let me just break it down to what I think really is going to go on. We're going to have 10% of the company. And there's let's say 300 million shares outstanding. And let's say AI-versity is worth $30 million. Is that, you think that's too low? All right, let's say that AI-versity is worth $300 million. You think that's too low? Okay, let's say that AI-versity is worth $3 billion. $3 billion. So we have 10% of 3 billion. That could be a lot of money. Let's see. Is that 300 million? All right, let's say we get 10% of, yeah, it's 300 million. How many shares are outstanding? 300 million. That's right now. That's before they issue any more shares. So it's $1 a share, Nakid. It's $1 a share. That's assuming we get 10% of the NewCo. That's assuming that AI-versity is worth $3 billion. And that's assuming we don't get crammed down further than 10%. So your upside, if all of that comes true, is it's worth $1 a share. How likely do you think that is? I don't think that's very likely. I think it's more likely that AI-versity might be worth 30 million. It's AI, so anything can happen, but there's a lot of AI companies out there. Maybe it's worth 60 million. We end up with 10% of the company to start with, but by the time they raise money and new monies come in, we have maybe 5% of the company or even 3% of the company. So you can see, I tried to go to an extreme of good evaluation, $1 a share, but you can see how that can get cut back by money's coming in. We don't start with very much, raising money. So, and the valuation of AI-versity is probably de minimis compared to 3 billion, but I could be wrong. So I think you're looking at pennies a share at best, but maybe a maximum of $1 a share. I can't imagine a better thing than that. And then you're going to ask me, what about the short shares? They're gone. They're offshore. They'll do a reverse merger. There'll be no short squeeze in GTII. I've never seen your name before, CognitBot, but you're either a child or you're a shill. There is no such thing as a sure thing in tiny price stocks. There's no such thing as a sure thing in trying to catch short squeezes. There's no such thing as a sure thing when the criminal element controls Adina Friedman, Gary Gensler, and Robert Cook. There just isn't. So let me go on record. The only sure thing out there is if you fly Spirit, you're going to have to pay to use the restaurant. Oh, God. GTII equals lives and friendships ruined. Okay, so Finger Motion just filed its 10K. Which so this is the re-audit. This is the re-audit. They hired an auditing firm. So they just filed the 10K, the annual report, for the fiscal year ended February 29, 2024. So that's good news. It's 96 pages. It's going to be very hard to do that, read that to you. But let's go to the summary. I mean, you know these numbers. I can't believe that they found anything out of line, but let's see. I'm not seeing any earnings. I'm on page 32. I'm not seeing any earnings. Okay, I'm halfway through. I don't see earnings. So that means the audit for the new auditor had to do 2 years. At least for the first of those 2 years, the audit is finished. That's good news. The other thing that is announced here is they're going to have an annual meeting February 28th, 2025. It's going to be held, it looks like, in Vancouver, British Columbia. And they go through what's up for vote and the nature of the company. So that's what was announced today. And that's all good. Middle ground. You don't use your real name, and I'm resisting banning you. I won't, because you've been here other times. But I can't speak for you because you don't seem to be a human being. Your name is Middle Ground. I am a human being. When I invested in GTII, I was listening to the story being told to me, and it went up. And I thought, wow, we're onto something. And I actually believed that that there is a compliance, there is a need on Wall Street to cover naked shorts, fails to deliver. Well, I was a different person then. That's just 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I now believe that Wall Street does not cover fails to deliver. And I'm a different person. If I heard the GTII story today, I wouldn't believe it could go to the high numbers. I just wouldn't believe it. Now, if it did, I'd go, shoot, I missed out. But I think any human being that doesn't learn from what has transpired over the last 2 years isn't human. So lives were ruined, Middle Ground, by GTII. I don't know. I lost a lot of money in GTII, so I guess I could look at it that way, a life ruined. On the other hand, had it worked, there's risk reward. So right now you're just looking at the detritus and saying, oh, instead of how you were 2 years ago, if you are human, and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to make all this, I'm going to do that. You're a different person is my point. Friendships ruined. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I don't know what to tell you. There's certainly people who I used to speak to that I haven't. So I guess you're right. Okay, so Middle Ground, we're going to leave it there. That's going to be the coda of it. And well, Richard Hoffman is Jewish and you're Jewish. Okay. Doesn't mean that Richard Hoffman is corrupt and that Richard Hoffman is doing business with, oh God. Okay, 5-star. The Kramers are Jewish. That's a coincidence. Reichman is Jewish. It's a coincidence. Jeff Easton is Jewish. It's a coincidence. The guys that start them out, that train them how to do this, reportedly are Jewish. That's it's all a coincidence. So I'm sorry. It just is a happy coincidence. My point I'm trying to make isn't about religion. It's not about, well, it might be slightly about culture, but it's not really about culture. It's that a group of men, and they're all men, trust each other Why do they trust each other? Why do they do business with each other? That's all I'm saying. Let me put it differently. The mafia is Italian, apparently, or was. All those guys trusted each other back before that guy, I forgot his name right now, talked. There was a bond of Italians. They wouldn't let Irishmen in. They wouldn't let anybody else in. Sicilians, whatever. I don't know. I was never part of it. But it's all right, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. These guys break the law to if you listen to Anston funds, to trillions of dollars and jail time. Mintz, Hal Mintz, Jewish. Frankly, I don't see a single name that's not Jewish. Ken Griffin is Jewish. I thought he was Irish. He's Jewish. He's half Jewish. Now, is that coincidence? Sure, it's just coincidence. It's just coincidence. Or if you can get beyond hurt feelings and understand what I'm trying to say, is these guys risk everything. They're breaking the law. They risk everything. And they're breaking the law on a huge scale. And they do it with other people. They trust them. That's all I'm saying, is they trust them. That's all I'm saying. All right, maybe it has nothing to do with that they're all Jewish. Maybe it's that they all went to the same high school. I don't know. My opinion is that a Jewish guy is not going to rat on another Jewish guy. That's my opinion. Am I wrong? Probably I'm wrong. An Italian guy, back when the mafia was supposedly Italian and there was supposedly a mafia, an Italian guy was not going to rat on another Italian guy. I don't know. I can't win on this argument. Can't win on this argument. All right, I take it all back. They just happen to be Jewish. It has nothing. It's just, these are good guys. They just happen to be Jewish. How do you explain it, 5-star? How do you explain trillions of dollars being stolen? How do you explain it? I don't know how to explain it. You have to ignore that this subset of people have a connection, because that'd be like saying John Gotti is Italian, and that guy's Italian, and he killed those people. But William's Italian, and my mother is. I mean, it's a total non sequitur that you're Jewish and that Richard Hoffman is Jewish. Am I saying that all Jewish people do this? No, that flips what I'm saying completely ass backwards. I'm suggesting that perhaps this group of guys trust each other. They put the fact that they're Jewish and they can trust each other because they're each Jewish. They put that above the fact that they're breaking the law. They don't break the law with me. They know I'd turn them in. I don't know. I can't win this argument. I can't win the argument. So I take it back, 5-star. I just take it back. I just withdraw the observation. I just withdraw it. Reichman's a guy who happens to be Jewish, and Kramer's are guys who happen to be Jewish, and it has absolutely no impact on their willing. And the lawyer that works for the Kramer's is Jewish. There's no affinity there. There's no trust. There's no intention to keep the business within ourselves. None of that. I'm totally wrong. I'm just totally wrong on that. All right, so I guess my observation, that won't help us figure out how this crime can happen. I guess it's just a bunch of random guys that happen to meet each other, happen to learn how to do this. They collude and cooperate and cheat and lie and avoid going to prison because there's a code of criminals. There's the criminal code. And maybe that's what it is. It's just the criminal code. I'm giving a Hitler speech? You know what? Are you an idiot? Maybe I'm an idiot. I'm not blaming their religion. Oh, God. When you cheat on a scale of hundreds of millions of shares, billions, you have to trust someone. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing to do. All right, I guess I just can't. No, it's not the Jews. It's not the Jews. You know what? It's just the stupid. It's just stupid investors. We shouldn't invest in these stocks. It's just ruined friendships and ruined lives, and it's all Ham's fault. That's what it is. There's no conspiracy here. There's no connection of the people in the conspiracy. And nah, you're right. You know, you're right. All right. Oh, I'm anti-Semitic. Okay. You know what? Of course there's criminals in every religion. Why do these men trust each other? Why? Why do these men of different organizations, different law firms, different regulators trust each other? They all break the law. Why do they trust each other? I guess it's just criminals trusting criminals. Oh, I can't win this. I guess it's the third rail of you. It's a blessing, I guess. It's a blessing. Well, we'll have to turn a blind eye to that. It's just criminal activity. It just happens to be that they're all men. It'd be like me saying that men do this and women don't. But that is the case, isn't it? Women aren't involved. Yeah. I don't know, guys. Middle ground is going to say that it ruins lives, and then I try to explain what happens, and I'm Hitler. Meyer Lansky was Irish. Meyer Lansky was, I think Bugsy Siegel, one of them was Irish. I don't know if it was Bugsy Siegel. Anyway. I don't think God, I guess it's too hard. I guess the point I'm trying to make is too hard to make. My question is, why do they trust each other? That's all it is. This is what, 25 guys doing this? It's obviously not the entire religion. But why do these men trust each other? That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. That's pretty funny, middle ground. That's pretty funny. All right. I guess that's fair enough, not to mention their religion, or the fact that they're white, or the fact that they're male. Okay. I won't, Jack, I won't mention anymore their religion or I don't know. I don't know how to fix this. I really don't know how to fix this criminality unless you root it out. Why do... Okay. They're financial terrorists. That's a good one. They are financial terrorists. Why do we trust each other? I don't know. I don't even know. I don't trust you. I don't know your name. I don't think it's religion why we trust each other. Why do Marines trust each other? I must be making a picayune point. I must be making a bad point. It's just coincidence, guys. And I'm forgive me for noticing it. It's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. I don't know why these guys work together. That they can go to prison. They can go to prison. I don't know. I just think it's a coincidence. I just guess it's a coincidence. What kind of company would Finger be without the emergency response bill? Probably not much of a company. I don't think right now, Bill, that I've got to be careful how to answer that. I don't think it's much of a company right now. The contract is unproven. As far as we know, they've done 2 cars or 2 SUVs. So for you to say that the emergency response deal, the C2 deal, is good, that's a leap of faith right now. I happen to agree with you. But how did they get that deal? They got that deal because of their relationships in China, because of their data, their capabilities with data. How'd they get the data? They got the data by building their relationships with 3 telecoms. China Telecom. Do you notice all these are Chinese? There must be a real conspiracy going on. Anyway, with 3 of the largest telecommunications companies in China. So the data, one, they performed, 2, they built up trust, and they have a facility with data. It's that got them this contract. So I don't agree with you. I think the C2 deal, the response vehicle deals, are the consequence of the company having created this budding data telecommunications company. But I don't think it's proven that the response deal is going to be great yet either, any more than it's proven that the insurance company deals are going to be great. I think they're going to be. I think this government deal is company changing, but it's not proven yet. So I guess those are my thoughts. I could say the same for Hollywood and the music industry. I don't know much about either one. I think Hollywood maybe I can only think of one studio, but that one studio was Jewish guy, I guess. And then there's Weinstein, I guess. But I don't think Walt Disney was Jewish. I don't know about Hollywood. But the music industry, that's a pretty broad brush. And I mean, P. Diddy, is he Jewish? I don't know. I don't say the same about it. I guess I don't know enough about what P. Diddy did, but I guess that's an analog, is that close group of guys breaking the law. Why did they trust each other? I don't know the answer, but I don't think it had anything to do with religion. I don't know. Why do people band together? I don't know. Yeah, Jack, you're probably right. And I thought that was funny. I could be giving a Hitler speech. No, I don't. I'm not. I'm the farthest thing from that. And I'm not anti-Semitic. What's the next GTII? But you can, how many varies can you use in a sentence? My suggestion, you don't need any. A Catholic won't run out another Catholic? I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. But you make a good point. Maybe it's a certain, you make a good point. Maybe it's a certain group of guys who happen to be Jewish who, live in a certain area of New York. It could be that. I don't know the answer. What's next? I don't know the answer. All I know is this is a conspiracy. It's been going on a long time. Somebody's covering for somebody. Another explanation is it's a Russian mob, or it's a jihadists, or it's Nancy Pelosi. I don't know. There's probably another. I'm going to wait and see how GTII plays out. Well, we don't have any choice but wait. Reichman will be gone. There'll be a new guy in. I don't know who it'll be, or a woman. Yeah, might as well wait. I don't even know what the Talmud is. I mean, I have a vague idea, but I don't think it says that. Who blames Jews for everything? I don't. Oh, they both promoted GTII. Oh, I see what you're saying. I didn't promote it. I did not promote it, but I did 5-star. I did think that GTII could squeeze. And I put videos out to that effect. That was probably 3 years ago. I think it's more than 2 years, so it must have been 3 years ago. And I really did think that GTII could squeeze. I thought Reichman was one of the good guys. I never met him, never talked to him. But it seemed like he was doing things to catch out the shorts. I didn't think he was colluding with the Kramers. But since a lot of this information has come out, my guess is Reichman might have been aware of what the Kramers were doing. I don't know. Maybe the best advice is don't make any assumptions and just, it happened. But Kurt and Seth Kramer shorted the stock. And their 6 or 7 clients, they made a lot of money. And there's no coincidence other than that. All right. Where are you getting 5 inches of ice? That's dangerous. Look, I'm not anti-Semitic, so unfortunately, I don't know. I see some legitimacy to my question. Why does this group of guys trust each other to work outside the rules? Maybe that's a bad question. Maybe it's just coincidence. The rules suck. It's just too much money. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. The evidence is that everybody does it. Everybody's involved in creating toxic convertible notes. Everybody's involved in shorting. Everybody's involved in the spoofing. Everybody. Let's just leave it at that. There's no evidence that it's a narrower definition. Men and women are doing it. People who are criminal are doing it. And criminals of all different natures are doing it. All different genders, all different self-identifications, all different backgrounds, all different cultures are all shorting stocks off of legally created documents that are toxic convertible notes. Everybody's doing it. I'm going to leave it at that. Everyone is doing it. We originally invested in a data acquisition company. Oh, I see. No, I see why you're asking. I actually am mostly interested in Finger's earnings for the fourth quarter to find out how they're going to make money on the data part of those emergency response vehicles. I'm not as interested in the emergency response vehicle portion. Let's say each vehicle costs 20 grand and they have to put the money up and they put the data in and they sell it to the government for 30 grand. I'm totally making those numbers up. That's a 50% profit and they did it once. So then you've got to be able to scale that. You've got to be able to go from 1 vehicle to 2 vehicles to 10 vehicles to 20 vehicles. All of a sudden, you're Ford Motor Company. That doesn't interest me as much as the data part. That it's a little like building a, I don't know, a phone or an iPad or a streaming service. You could give away the hookup unit because you get recurring revenue every month. I'm much more interested in finding out what the recurring revenue from the data that these trucks and drones and SUVs use. I'd love to hear what that recurring data is. That's the part I think is exciting. Barbara, I actually agree with you on that. I'm glad you made money on GTII, Barbara. I didn't get out. That was my mistake. You're in Kentucky? And you have 5 inches of ice? Oh my gosh. What part of Kentucky? I've spent a lot of time in Kentucky. Louisville, a little bit. Frankfurt, a little bit. But mostly Lexington, Kentucky. Lexington. Been to Richmond, Kentucky. I've been to the hollows of Kentucky. I've been to the eastern part of Kentucky. I've been to Cincinnati, Kentucky, whatever that's called. There's a strip of nightlife there. I've driven through Florence, y'all, many times on the highway. So the whole theory falls apart. So the whole theory falls apart. Nobody trusts anybody. Oh, God. All right. That's probably the most devastating argument right there. No one trusts each other. Is Noah's Ark in Kentucky or is it in Ohio? I drove by Dayton, Ohio, the airport there. Was it his ark or was it just a big statue of Noah? Can't remember, his big, huge thing. Florence Mall, y'all. Florence Mall, y'all. It's Florence, y'all. I'm glad Barbara made money on that. I'm glad. And I think Finger can give you a good return. And criminal organization and conspiracy to commit fraud. I like that summary. That's a pretty good summary. It's a pretty good summary. All right. Having totally gone off the rails, I think Railtown is the stock to buy. And it doesn't have, I don't think it has any criminals involved in it. But it looks like it closed at 35 cents. And I don't think it has criminals of any sort. Well, that's weird. On Yahoo, it doesn't show 35 cents. Well, now this is yesterday's price. On OTC markets, it shows that it closed at 35 cents. Let's try Market Watch. Yep, Market Watch shows that Railtown closed at 0.3493, up 0.0416. All right, I think 5-star summarized it the best. What does it say? I'm an hour south of Florence. So you're in Lexington. Are you in Lexington, Kentucky? Is that 71 or 75? An hour south, I think, is Lexington. Maybe it's Richmond. Maybe it's Frankfurt. Anyway, somewhere around like that. Wondering if the shorts get fined for illegal shorting. I mean, answering your question the way it's written, I don't think they get fined. I don't think they cover. I don't think they're held responsible to cover. And this is, when I left the bowels of Wall Street, the inner sanctum, or whatever you want to call it, you couldn't get away with this stuff. You couldn't do it. But shares were bought in. You could lose your license to trade. I don't know what's happened. And yes, we just discussed one aspect of what might have happened. The other thing that I think happened is that Wall Street, particularly after Reg Show, particularly after the financial crisis, the banks split in two. The big banks, like Goldman Sachs, like Merrill Lynch, like, Lehman didn't make it, Bear Stearns didn't make it, like Morgan Stanley, they became insured by the FDIC. So they split the prop trading, the investment banking, well, that's partly both places, but the trading desks, in some ways, even the advice, they moved it out so that where the assets were got rescued by the taxpayer, by the FDIC. I would argue that when that split happened, those trading desks, those prop desks, those guys that knew each other, and by the way, those were a lot of different kinds of people. They became the client. They went out and started hedge funds. They started doing business with, when you split the two firms, the firm split in two, they started doing business with the prime broker, not with the brokerage house. Somehow in that move, compliance left the scene. Where's compliance? It's completely gone. There is no compliance. On the brokerage side, they broker your trade. So you go in, you buy finger motion through your broker. The broker puts in the trade, it comes in through the prime broker, and the prime broker gives an assurance, and no one seems to follow up. No one cares. No one. Where's compliance? Where's enforcement? No one cares. And that has nothing to do with religion, by the way. That just has to do with banks surviving and then an unintended consequence. Or do the shorts get to walk away free and clear because they've been fined? I love the innocence in your question. I think they walk away free and clear. And I do not understand why. And obviously, it's just chance. It's just a bunch of people that happen to be criminal, and it's just chance. But they walk away from this. If you, I don't have it here, but if you follow the Anson funds, it's trillions of dollars with a T every year, and they walk away from it. The law firms represent the SEC and they represent the criminals. And they walk away. There's no fines. Every now and then you get a fine that shows, like Goldman Sachs was fined recently $3 million for an inadvertent gap in their software. Inadvertent. And it went on for 3 years. And it was, I forget, $160 billion. They got fined $3 million. The fine is nothing. The regulators want a job with Morgan Stanley. The revolving door is very strong, too, as a motive. And I don't think that has anything to do with religion, by the way. The revolving door to law firms, the revolving door to brokerage firms, the revolving door to big hedge funds from the SEC. No, I don't think the fines, I don't think it's a question that if you pay the fine, you've somehow made up for your crime. I think the crimes are ignored. I think the handful of guys, and I'm sorry, Stevie Cohen is one of them. He skates at the edge of the ice. Guys like he, trained guys like the Kramers and Ari Rubenstein and Jeffrey Easton and his associate Philip Vallier. And how do they train them? They say, look, this is the documents. Call this attorney. Get the CEO to sign that document and we'll give you the $10 million. We'll split it 70% for the big guy, 30% for you. I'll cover your ass. You'll never get in trouble. You'll never go to jail. Just don't call me at home or at work. In fact, don't call me at all. And that's how this goes on. And it's just so much money. And I don't know how you stop it. I don't know how you stop it. You call it out, nothing happens. You try to make money on a trade and guys come on here and say, oh, it ruined friendship, ruined lives, and it's Ham's fault or it's my fault, I guess. But why can't the market be fair for everybody? Why can't there be settlement? Why can't the rules apply to retail? I was just listening to a guy last night who read the book about Jesse Livermore, which I read, I have it somewhere, and talking about bucket shops. They used to have these bucket shops, you know, who started the bucket shops, who financed them? The same guy who apparently cheated the White Sox. His name was Rothstein. But anyway, he would start these bucket shops, and you could go in and put up 10% to buy a stock. And I was thinking, well, that's what the shorts are doing. They're putting up less than that. They're putting up a contract that's written up by Jeff Easton, or maybe he was trained how to do it by a guy like Stevie Cohen or Ken Griffin. And then they trade to the short side. And then all they have to do is get their buddies to do it, and they commit crimes on an epic scale. Epic scale. And they do it with each other. And I guess it's the code of the criminal. That's, you know, I guess that's what it is. But anyway, in these bucket shops, you put up 10%. So let's say you wanted to buy 10 shares of NVIDIA. You'd put up 10 shares would cost you $1,250 maybe. So you'd put up $125 and you could buy 10 shares. And the bucket shop, all the noise would be going and the chalkboards written. But the bucket shop, much like, in my opinion, Robin Hood and Moo and the rest of them, they never gave the money to, they never went and bought shares. Rothstein's guys just treated it like a bookie operation. So the $125, you bought those 10 shares, or more importantly, Rothstein's guys assumed the risk of the upside on those 10 shares. But 95% of the time, the stock went down. And as soon as the stock went down by the 10%, you were sold out. You're done. Your money went away. So most of the time, the bucket shop would take your money. But I guess Jesse Livermore was good enough that he actually made money when he traded, and he had to move around the country. I don't think Rothstein was the only guy that had bucket shops, but I guess he had them either in New York or Trying to remember where Jesse started. I think it was New York. It might have been Philadelphia. But anyway, Jesse Livermore had to move from city to city. And then the thing that Jesse did, apparently, I think it was Jesse did it. He would actually call in to get a line to the New York Stock Exchange so he could hear the price before the bucket shop would hear the price. Anyway, this stuff has been around a long time, and this is just a new iteration of guys cheating, and they just do it on such an epic scale. I've been screwed by many people. Whose fault? Mine. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think if you're screwed by the same person twice, it's probably your fault. Maybe the third time. But the first time you're screwed by somebody, how do you know? How do you know? It's all trust. And that's the scariest thing about a society when it breaks down. The trust, it's because trust is gone. And maybe that's the capitalist system, is trust. And maybe that's what we're dealing with here. These markets are not trustworthy. They're not. And I don't know how to get it back there. David, I'm sorry, William, but I think the crooks are trying to destroy anything you remember. Yeah. Look, I'm looking for, they're going to try to short Railtown maybe, but I think they're going to be surprised with that one. I think they're going to be surprised. What's this, Robert? RW? My brother was Orthodox. I assume you mean Jewish, because there's Greek Orthodox and Russian Orthodox too. I don't know. And got screwed by other Orthodox. I think people screw each other, particularly when it comes to love and money. People do it. Not everybody, though. Not everybody. It's perplexing. I was listening to George Foreman last night when I couldn't sleep, and he was talking about the rumble in the jungle. And he's older when he was talking about it. And he said, I regret that when I lost that fight to Ali, that I blamed it on the ropes. I blamed it on the setup. I blamed it on, the month wait. I looked to blame anybody, and I said I was screwed. He said, I wish I hadn't done that, because that was a brave man. Muhammad Ali came out there. He had a game plan, and it worked. And he said, I wish I hadn't done that. And I thought, wow, there's a good guy. There's George Foreman, a good man. Why would he go out of the way to say that all those years later? And so I think there's a lot of good people in the world too. And I think there's a lot of people that don't screw others. So I don't know. It's tough. I don't know why. I don't know why some people screw others. I really don't. Well, everyone says that terrorism comes from the Arabs. I guess that's okay. So Nunya lives north of LaGrange, down 71, not 75. So I always used to get confused. I think I know where LaGrange is. I spent a lot of time in Lexington, Kentucky, which I think is a great place. I spent a lot of time in Cincinnati too, and everywhere in between. Well, that's fair enough, RW. That's not what I meant, but I can see where that's really not what I meant. So I think 5-star summarized it best. All right. I guess we'll leave it at that. 6 o'clock. I screwed up. It'll be another long night. Uh-oh. Alphabet tumbles. That's not going to be good for tomorrow. Yeah. All right. So I don't have anything more to say, and Ham didn't call in. So I think I'll leave it there for tonight. And I apologize for screwing it up. Yeah. I can't dig my way out of what I said, so. But I do think it wasn't just a handful of these people, these guys are criminals. It's just a handful of them. And I certainly wasn't trying to condemn a whole population of people. I wasn't trying to do that. All right, everyone. Let's see what happens. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Let's look for next trip, NTRP. Let's look for Railtown, RLAIF. Maybe Nixie springs back to life. Finger is in the mix. And this GBUX, Give Bucks, seems interesting. I don't know what else. The biggest of all, the best of all is silver. If you guys are sitting on the sideline on silver, you got to get in before it reprices. It'll be $100 before you know it. So let me translate that for you. If you have $3,000, you can buy 300, ignoring the fees. You can buy 300 ounces of gold right now, but if it goes to 100, you can't buy as much. My computer's about to fade away, so I'm going to sign off, wish everybody a good night, and wish everybody who, I don't know how to, anything I say is going to be misinterpreted. So I wish everybody of all religions, or no religion at all, I wish them all equal blessings and good fortune. So anyway, we'll talk tomorrow if I have the courage to come back on. Cheers.